The 50th anniversary of Special Olympics.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Dennis DeJesus, who runs Special Olympics, is like a comfortable shoe on this program. He comes back often and talks to us about, I think, one of the most profound and important projects we have in this state, which is Special Olympics. And by the way, Special Olympics RI is a high achiever in the national and worldwide scheme. And we have the evidence of that has been brought to us by national spokespeople. And tonight we'll also meet a young man who has achieved to the point where he's going to matriculate at Rick and then dazzle me tonight with his math skills, because he's going to teach the kids algebra, which is about where I jumped off the ship in my education. So that's all coming tonight. Great to have you in on a Thursday evening. Well, let's dig into some of the issues of the day, because it has been a whirlwind, no doubt. Headline here: Trump cancels the nuclear summit. And I don't know why anybody would be surprised. So, Mike Pence goes ahead and suggests that the Libyan formula is in play for North Korea, which causes North Korea to more or less call Pence a dummy, which causes a little bit more turbulence. And then Kim Jong-un says, hey, listen, we can deal with this over the table, or we can blow you up, which finally causes Donald Trump to say, I think we're going to pause on this.
I've spoken to General Mattis and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and our military, which is by far the most powerful anywhere in the world, that has been greatly enhanced recently, as you all know, is ready if necessary. Likewise, I have spoken to South Korea and Japan, and they are not only ready should foolish or reckless acts be taken.
Okay. This shouldn't be a surprise. In fact, our North Korean expert from the Naval War College, Professor Terry Roehrig, was in here only 2 days ago when I asked him, do you really think this June 12th summit is going to happen in Singapore? Do you think it will happen on June 12th?
Well, thinking of this in terms of Vegas odds, I think the odds have probably dropped a little that it may not happen on the 12th. But I think it's still likely that it probably will, but I think there's also perhaps a possibility it may be postponed. How long, I don't know, but it will depend on how these next few weeks play out.
Boy, he sounds brilliant, kind of like Karnak, right? Well, look, listen, most of you who watch this program on a regular basis know that I'm not a fan of President Trump's procedures or policies. At the same time, I don't think it's the end of the world to take the air out of the balloon here a little bit and make sure that we've got this thing in check. What I can't figure out, though, is why we are demanding complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula as a prerequisite for negotiation. It seems to me that's going to be a non-starter. So don't hold your breath. June 12th might be June 12th, 2027 by the whole time this whole thing brings some resolution. And that's a different administration. We'll see. Moving on to our next issue, the NFL cannot get out of its own way. I don't understand how a $9 billion industry can be so repetitively stupid. Here's the latest.
The 32-member clubs of the National Football League unanimously approved a new policy at their spring meeting in Atlanta to address protests during the national anthem. It states all team and league personnel on the field shall stand and show respect for the flag and the anthem.
We think that we've come up with a balanced process here and a procedure and policy that will allow those players who feel that they can't stand for the anthem to stay in the locker room.
There is no penalty for staying in the locker room.
I can't make none of those rules. You just got to abide by them. It's still a business at the end of the day.
I'm glad they came to an agreement some form or another. I'll be out there standing.
Former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick kicked off the movement in 2016, quietly taking a knee during the anthem to protest police brutality and social justice issues. But the display quickly turned into a polarizing political issue.
Get that son of a off the field.
The players' union says it was not part of these discussions, and the so-called compromise is only between the league and the owners, not the players.
I think the right question would be, well, what do you do now? And I think about me, and I think about what guys on this team are doing. Like, we're already in the community. We're already finding ways to protest police brutality against people of color.
The league says it will fine teams if players continue to protest on the field.
All right, so let's make sure we understand this. Let's highlight exactly what the commissioner has said about this.
I think that we've come up with a balanced process here and a procedure and policy that will allow those players who feel that they can't stand for the anthem to stay in the locker room.
So what are fans going to be doing? Checking to see who's on the sidelines for the national anthem? Was there ever some kind of a concept where maybe we talk about the social mission of players and build in, like the National Basketball Association has done, a little bit of room for them to actually express themselves and to actually engage the players and their communities in some attention for the stuff that they're really concerned about, which would then take the pressure down and mitigate the need to say, listen, I got problems with the way the country runs, so I'm going to kneel here during the national anthem. Instead, we're just going to send people to their room, and then they can come out when they want. What kind of message is this in terms of conflict resolution? This is not conflict resolution. It's a bunch of chickens in a $9 billion business trying to protect themselves. It's embarrassing. Anyway, Woonsocket raid. This is really fascinating. The state police have a major league bust, right? We have another picture on this as well? I think we might have. Yeah, this is the unknown colonel, as I call her. And I know people take umbrage with that, but Anna Sumpico, who is the colonel, who doesn't do an interview other than some safe press conference from time to time, ought to be here and other places talking about the nature of this raid in Woonsocket, where they, I guess, did some pretty doggone good work in taking out some serious motorcycle gang resources. I don't know how many of us knew we had some pretty bad motorcycle gang problems in this state. I am glad for the rank and file of this terrific state police organization. They do great work. I am really disheartened by the leadership shown by Colonel Sumpico, who poses in front of the stuff that they were able to get from these gangs, the guns and the other contraband that was involved, but who hasn't done a thing to explain to us what the nature of the problem has been. You know, what we should be looking out for. I mean, a press conference is one thing, but in-depth discussion in this community is necessary, and she has fallen down on the job. She, from a public relations, which is important for the state police, basis, is a quantum failure and should be a major thing that hangs around the political campaign of incumbent Governor Gina Raimondo. I mean, pathetic. She's invited here anytime she wants to rebuild her legacy, which will be that she doesn't talk about nothing anywhere, and I don't know why. In the meantime, finally, the race to sports betting in this state is warp speed. I mean warp speed. Coming up on Tuesday of next week, we'll have the Senate President, Ruggiero. I mean, he could not be hotter for this idea. And again, one of the reasons is Governor Raimondo put in $25 million in the next fiscal budget for sports gaming before the U.S. Supreme Court even said, yeah, states can do it. Joe Larissa is a former East Providence mayor. He's a political guy on the Republican side and a pretty sharp lawyer. And he knows the Constitution pretty well. He was on my radio show what's today, Thursday? Yesterday, explaining that there's no room for sports betting in the Constitution at the ballot box quite yet.
No reference to sports betting in the legislation. There's no reference to sports betting in any referendum. There's nothing in the town of Tiverton or Lincoln having anything to do with sports betting. That's pretty much undisputed. The question asked for approval for casino gambling, including table games, quote, end quote.
Hey, look, I don't have a philosophical, but There's something about sports betting that I think diminishes the sports fan authenticity, but I'm not going to stand on my head over it. It's something I think eventually will happen. But someone's going to sue about the constitutional process. And you know what's going to happen then? Some judge is going to have to rewind this thing. They could start sports gambling in Twin River and Tiverton and have to stop it and wait a year or two while they go through a process. Can't we just vote on it in November? If it's such a great thing for the state, make the argument and be a month or two late in getting the budget made on casino gaming. Like doing the right thing at the right time, right? One guy in the campaign, Joe Trillo, just put out a press release to say, hey, listen, I agree. Let's do a referendum. He's running for governor. Maybe you ought to give him a look. When we come back, Special Olympics anniversary. Stay with us. Welcome back. Dennis DeJesus is here, and I've got a 7-letter athlete from Lincoln High School who's heading to Rick, who is going to dazzle me with his math acumen. Of course, you should know Dennis, and you're meeting our Lincoln High School graduate. Congratulations, Ryan Fleming.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Heading to Rhode Island College.
That is correct.
To major in?
Secondary education in Algebra 1 in the middle school level.
Yeah? You good in cosines and all that kind of stuff?
Well, that's pre-calc. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that's...
He's setting the agenda today.
That's fine with me, because after this week already, I'm ready to do that. Well, you know what? I'm with you, because I had a program, a class called Modern Introductory Analysis, which is a fancy word for pre-calc in high school, and I got off the boat there too. I just got that's enough. Well, good for you. So you're entering coming up this fall session?
Yes, that is correct. Around fall 2018, I will be starting to work for my major, which is excellent.
And your hat is for the Rhode Island Interscholastic League Championships. What championship have you participated in?
So, sir, I participated in like the swimming champions for all my 4 years. For my junior and senior year, we won Division III back-to-back state championships for Lincoln High School swim team.
Yeah, and you swam the 500.
Oh yes.
Some tells me you could probably swim the 500 somewhere in the neighborhood of 5:55. Am I right?
That is correct.
Yes. Oh, yeah? Specifically, though, what was the time? Your best time?
My best time is a 5:55.76.
Okay.
Got it.
Got it.
You're right on target.
Oh, my goodness. What a pleasure you are. Who is this guy, and where did you get him?
What an athlete. What an athlete, and what a role model for all the athletes of Special Olympics Rhode Island. Ryan Fleming is 1 in a million. And what he hasn't told you is that on July 30th, he'll be getting on an airplane heading to Seattle as part of our delegation for USA Games. So he'll be swimming in Seattle against competition from all over the country, representing the great state of Rhode Island.
And now, is that in the Special Olympics category?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that time, by the way, of 5:55.76 is no slouch time, period. I don't care if it's Special Olympics, it's Rhode Island Interscholastic. I mean, it's moving through the pool, and I'm betting you couldn't do it,
No.
and I know I can't do it.
No,
because
no
my
shot.
kid swam, and I know how that's moving in the pool. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's excelled not only through Special Olympics, but also as a swimmer for Lincoln High School. So he represents his school, he represents Special Olympics very, very well. And we're proud and honored that he'll be joining us in Seattle for USA Games.
We got a big weekend coming up.
Yeah.
Talk to me. June
1, 2, and 3, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Special Olympics Rhode Island and Special Olympics International. July 20th, 1968, Eunice Kennedy Shriver opened up the games in Chicago, the first games, and that's the anniversary date. Her son, Dr. Tim Shriver, will be in town to be the keynote address on June 1st at the Ryan Center. Over 1,500 athletes, parents. We expect a crowd of in excess of 5,000 to be in attendance on June 1, and we're looking forward to a spectacular celebration throughout the weekend.
It really is one of those calendar markers for the state, period. I mean, this is not just a Special Olympics family and friend constituency. This has become one of Rhode Island's crown jewel weekends.
The place to be.
Yeah.
The place to be to kick off your summer. We always say is URI, and if we can get you there at all during that weekend, we got you hooked. You're coming back. You're going to come back for again and again and again. So June 1st, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, and we're thrilled with it. 8 o'clock p.m. on that evening, Billy Gilman will sing. Our Athlete Leadership Council selected Billy. They wanted to hear Billy in a concert format. And so it's a celebration, I think, of acceptance, inclusion, and respect. And those are the three words that all of our athletes strive for each and every day of their lives. So we're going to give them the celebration of their life. And, you know, the 50 years, first 50 have been remarkable. Lord knows where we're going with the second 50. But there's nothing but great things ahead for Special Olympics. Athletes like Ryan who excel on and off the athletic field.
When we come back, we'll hear more about Ryan's story and a reminder of another story regarding Special Olympics that touched us all. Stay with us. Just some scenes from Special Olympics past, and there is the torch which has been lit, and my guest to your left, my right, Ryan, is actually going to participate in the torch run, aren't you?
That is correct.
What is the length of your run?
Well, it's about a long time, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, the torch run comes from the State House all the way down to the opening
Well, it starts in Woonsocket. It starts in,
right.
There's six legs: Westerly, East Providence, Woonsocket, Gloucester. 3 of the legs meet at the State House at 1 o'clock.
Gotcha.
And then from there, it weaves its way through Providence, Cranston, Warwick, south to URI, and it culminates with the lighting of the cauldron.
There are various ways that the Special Olympics stays afloat financially, including the plunges that they're famous for. Crazy, crazy people, including the super plungers who are of the ultimate
craziness,
insanity.
Yes.
We had a moment a few months ago with the Cranston police officer Eric Leclerc, who really kind of shed his soul in talking about what moved him to actually become involved in Special Olympics. Let's take a look.
I'll tell you what, I'm a parent of a Special Olympic athlete, and 2009 I was deployed to Iraq. I came home and I was proposed to my wife, who has my stepdaughter Sophia. She has Down syndrome. So I brought her, at the time she was 6 years old, sorry. I brought her over to the park, to an elementary school where I grew up in. And she wanted to play with the kids. There's a group of kids playing, and she was trying to fit in with them, and they wanted nothing to do with her because of her disability. One kid started to play with her and talked with her. Another child came up and basically said, "Why are you playing with that retard?" I was mortified. I mean, I was home for about maybe 3 weeks, and I was just mortified. So his parents weren't around, which was a good thing, because I don't know what I would have done. But I took my daughter out, went home, and sports were a big thing in my life. So I'm like, we got to get her into something. But you look around at the time, I mean, she was small, and there's really nothing we could get her into. So I knew about Special Olympics through the law enforcement torch run, so I made some contacts, and we got her into Special Olympics. And it's just to see the quality of the programs that they put on for people like my daughter. It's insane.
There was a moment here on the show. I mean, if you list the top 10 gotcha moments, it was in there in the 4 years we've been doing the show. He was so full of the pain and I think the glory of the experience the Special Olympics has brought. How did that resonate? How did that conversation resonate?
One word comes to mind: passion. People have such passion for this organization, and the true heroes of this organization are the coaches who volunteer their time, parents who give up their time to make sure their children have the opportunity to compete. Those are the real heroes of this program. And I come across them every single day, and I'm amazed at their drive, their energy, their enthusiasm, but their passion to make sure that their children have equal opportunities in the classroom, outside of the classroom, on the athletic fields, off the athletic fields, in theater, in band, and the list goes on and on and on. Those are the true heroes of this organization.
There's such an element of decency and fairness that comes along with the work that the Special Olympics community does. Clearly, his pain was about fairness and equity. And how did that strike you, Ryan, when you watched that?
Well, it made me feel like I feel like more inclusion in Special Olympics now.
Why is that important?
Special Olympics is very important to me because it's like being like with my disability, I don't have many opportunities in sporting events. So when I joined Special Olympics, I have met much more opportunities than ever for sporting events.
You know, Ryan's a unique example of one of our athletes who is a varsity athlete without a Special Olympics designation. You're well aware of our Unified Champion Schools program, where we do basketball and volleyball, and we're giving athletes, student athletes in the schools, the opportunity to wear their colors for the first time. That has changed school cultures. That has brought about the word inclusion that Ryan so eloquently described.
And I should remind everybody that those unified leagues, it's the real thing. There's competition, league standings, officials. You put that together in a scholastic league on, I think, a really respectable level. In other words, they get to play for the same kind of championship that the other kids do.
One difference, a high level of sportsmanship, a high level of camaraderie among players on both teams.
Not necessarily instructed, but part of the nature of the game.
Part of the nature of the game, but some things that some people could take a lesson from watching Special Olympic athletes. Because when they're on the victory stand, they're reaching over to put the hand up of their opposition in a true gesture of sportsmanship. May not see that every single day in high school sports, college sports, or pro sports. And I think that's what sets our Olympians apart.
So what are you doing for this anniversary competition at URI this weekend, or the weekend of June 1st?
So what I'm doing for the weekend of June 1st to the 3rd is I'm swimming at URI in 100 IM, 100 free, 100 butterfly, and 4x25 relay.
What's your 100 free time?
It's kind of like minute or under.
You can swim a 100 free in under a minute?
Of course I can.
Could you tell Dan why you're not going to be with us on June 1st?
Because I'm graduating with my class of 2018 at Lincoln High School.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You are, so you're going to be teaching young people, this is 2018, by 2023 or 24, you're going to have a gig.
Well, that's really good, like in 2023 when I'm starting to teach. If I get a teaching program by then, which is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to be very difficult to hire.
Well,
I think you're going to be an easy hire.
No doubt.
No doubt at all.
Thank you for bringing him. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
And contribute and participate in the 50th anniversary special commemoration of the Rhode Island Special Olympics, which have been happening now for how long?
50 years.
So even the Rhode Island Special.
Rhode Island.
The whole kit and caboodle, all right? We'll be back for a final word when we come back. Stay with us. Local guy done good with a special book on tomorrow's show, and we'll see you at 3 on WPRO. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to put the Special Olympics in your calendar for June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Bye.